May 27th, 1941. The German battleship Bismarck was sinking in the North Atlantic. British warships had pounded her for hours. The ship was listing, on fire, going down. Over 2,000 German sailors were dying in the freezing water. A British destroyer spotted debris floating, wreckage, bodies, oil slicks. Then they saw something moving. A small black and white cat, clinging to a floating board, soaked and terrified, but alive. They pulled him from the water, the only survivor they found that day. The British named him Oscar. They made him the mascot of HMS Cossack. 5 months later, HMS Cossack was torpedoed. The ship went down. Oscar survived again. They transferred him to HMS Ark Royal, a massive aircraft carrier. 2 weeks later, HMS Ark Royal was torpedoed. The ship sank. Oscar survived a third time. 3 ships, 3 sinkings, 1 cat who refused to die. The Royal Navy renamed him Unsinkable Sam and decided he was the unluckiest lucky cat in naval history. Then they banned him from ever boarding another ship. This is the story of the cat who survived the impossible 3 times. Let's start with the Bismarck. May 1941. She was the pride of the German Navy, the largest, most powerful battleship Germany had ever built. 50,000 tons, 8 15-inch guns that could sink anything afloat. The British were terrified of her. The cat who would become known as Sam was aboard Bismarck as ship's cat. His original name was probably Oscar, though German records don't confirm it. Ships needed cats. Rats were a constant problem, chewing through supplies and cables. Bismarck had a cat. That cat was about to have the worst week of his life. May 18th, 1941. Bismarck left port on Operation Rheinübung, a mission to break into the Atlantic and destroy British merchant convoys. She was escorted by the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen. The plan was simple: sink everything, cripple Britain's supply lines, win the war. May 24th, the British intercepted Bismarck in the Denmark Strait. HMS Hood, Britain's largest battleship, engaged. Bismarck fired. A shell hit Hood's magazine. The ship exploded and sank in 3 minutes. 1,415 British sailors died. Only 3 survived. Bismarck had won, but she'd taken damage. A shell hit caused an oil leak. She was leaving a trail the British could follow. Admiral Lutyens decided to make for France. The British decided Bismarck had to die. May 26th. British torpedo bombers attacked. 1 torpedo hit Bismarck's rudder. The steering jammed. The ship could only sail in circles. She was crippled. May 27th morning. British battleships HMS King George V and HMS Rodney caught up. They opened fire at point-blank range. Shell after shell slammed into Bismarck. The superstructure was destroyed. Fires raged. The crew was being slaughtered. Admiral Lutyens was killed. The ship was dying. The Germans scuttled Bismarck to prevent capture. The ship rolled over and sank. Of 2,221 crew, only 114 survived. The British destroyers pulled a few men from the water, but most drowned or died of hypothermia. 1 British destroyer, HMS Cossack, was picking through the debris when they spotted the cat, clinging to a floating piece of wreckage, soaked, exhausted, somehow alive. They pulled Oscar from the North Atlantic, the only living thing they found in the wreckage that day. The British sailors aboard HMS Cossack adopted Oscar immediately. They renamed him, still Oscar, keeping the German name, but now a British cat. He'd switched sides. He became HMS Cossack's mascot. HMS Cossack was a tribal-class destroyer, fast, heavily armed, with a reputation for aggressive action. She'd been in combat throughout the war. In 1940, Cossack had boarded a German ship in Norwegian waters and freed 299 British prisoners, a famous incident that made her crew heroes. Oscar was joining a veteran ship with a fighting record. For 5 months, Oscar lived aboard HMS Cossack. He did what ship's cats do, hunted rats, slept in warm corners, accepted scraps from sailors who were amused to have Bismarck's cat as their mascot. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. This cat had survived Germany's greatest battleship. Now he was British. October 23rd, 1941. HMS Cossack was escorting convoy HG-75 west of Gibraltar. German U-boat U-563 was hunting the convoy. At 2 a.m., the U-boat fired a torpedo. It hit HMS Cossack on the port side, forward of the bridge. The explosion was catastrophic. The bow was nearly blown off. The forward section flooded immediately. The ship lost power. She was dead in the water, sinking by the bow. The crew abandoned ship. Of 219 men aboard, 159 died, either killed in the explosion, drowned in the flooding, or lost in the dark Atlantic. HMS Cossack was taken under tow, but sank the next day west of Gibraltar. Oscar survived. Again, sailors pulled him from the wreckage. The cat, who'd survived Bismarck, had now survived HMS Cossack. 2 ships, 2 sinkings. The sailors started wondering if Oscar was cursed. The British transferred Oscar to Gibraltar. They needed to figure out what to do with this cat who kept surviving sinkings. Someone decided to send him to HMS Ark Royal. This was either very brave or very stupid. HMS Ark Royal was one of Britain's most famous aircraft carriers, 22,000 tons, carrying dozens of aircraft, a symbol of British naval power. She'd been in combat since 1939. German propaganda had claimed to sink her multiple times. She'd survived every attack. She was considered lucky. Oscar joined HMS Ark Royal in late October or early November 1941. He was aboard for approximately 2 weeks. Then his luck, or the ship's luck, ran out. November 13th, 1941. HMS Ark Royal was returning to Gibraltar after delivering aircraft to Malta. German U-boat U-81 was patrolling nearby. At 3:41 p.m., U-81 fired a single torpedo. It hit HMS Ark Royal on the starboard side. The explosion tore a massive hole in the hull. The boiler rooms flooded. The ship lost power. She began listing heavily to starboard. The crew tried to save her. Damage control parties fought the flooding for hours. But the damage was too severe. Water was pouring in faster than pumps could handle. The order came, abandon ship. The crew evacuated. Of over 1,600 men aboard, only 1 died in the sinking. A miracle given the ship's size. The evacuation was orderly and successful. Oscar was found clinging to a floating plank. Again. For the 3rd time he'd survived a sinking. Sailors pulled him from the water, looked at this soaked, bedraggled cat, and made a decision. Oscar was done. He was unlucky, or lucky, or cursed. Whatever he wasn't getting on another ship. They renamed him Unsinkable Sam. Then they banned him from the Royal Navy. Unsinkable. Sam was transferred to shore facilities in Gibraltar, then to the UK. The Royal Navy found him a permanent land-based home. He spent the rest of the war in offices in Belfast and later the governor's residence in Gibraltar. No more ships, ever. The story spread through the Navy. A cat who'd survived 3 sinkings, Bismarck, HMS Cossack, HMS Ark Royal, started German, ended British, survived them all. It seemed impossible. Sailors are superstitious, and Sam became a legend. Some thought he was lucky. Others thought he was a jinx. Everyone agreed he shouldn't be allowed near water. Sam lived comfortably for the rest of his life. He was well cared for, probably the most famous cat in the Royal Navy. He died in 1955 in Belfast at approximately 14 years old. Natural causes, on dry land, no sinkings involved. His story became part of naval folklore. Artist Georgina Shaw Baker painted his portrait in 1955, showing Sam on a ship's plank, with the sinking ships in the background. The painting is held in the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. Sam's story appears in naval history books, museums, and documentaries. But there's debate about whether it's true. German Bismarck records don't mention a cat. Some historians think Sam might be a legend, a composite of different ships' cats, or a morale-boosting story invented during the war. The British insist the story is real. Contemporary accounts mention the cat. The Royal Navy treated him as real. Whether completely true or slightly embellished, Sam represents something important: the randomness of survival in war. Over 4,000 men died on those 3 ships. One cat lived. There's no logic to it. No reason. He was just in the right place at the wrong time, 3 times, and somehow that meant survival. Unsinkable Sam survived 3 ship sinkings in 6 months. He started the war German and ended it British. He went from the largest battleship in the Kriegsmarine to 2 of Britain's most famous warships, and he outlived them all. The men who died on Bismarck, HMS Cossack, and HMS Ark Royal weren't unlucky. They were doing their jobs in a war that killed millions. Sam wasn't lucky either. He was just a cat who happened to be floating near rescue ships 3 times. But the story persists because it's absurd. In a war defined by industrial slaughter and random death, a cat survived 3 sinkings by pure chance. It's the kind of story sailors tell because it's too strange not to be true. And whether every detail is accurate or not, Sam existed. He survived. And the Royal Navy decided he'd caused enough chaos for one war. Unsinkable Sam died peacefully in 1955. On land, far from any ship. Exactly where the Royal Navy wanted him. Unsinkable Sam is one of many animals whose war stories seem impossible, but happened anyway. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to Animal War Heroes. What other animal heroes should I cover? Drop your suggestions below. And if Sam's story amazed you, hit the like button. Thanks for watching.